Good afternoon and welcome back to Dr. Logic Awkwardly Does Logic, or in this case, awkwardly talks about the names of systems of logic. A lot of the times, logical systems have very sensible and straightforward names. For instance, logic K is called this because it is the logic that is classified by Kripke frames. Kripke begins with K. Logic B, which we will see in some future videos, has as its characteristic axiom an axiom that was first identified and discussed by the Dutch logician Brouwer. Brouwer, B. System D, I don't know if this is exactly the origin of it, but it is characteristic of deontic notions of modality, and hey, deontic begins with D. Systems S4 and S5, probably the most well-known modal systems, are the fourth and fifth systems that Lewis and Langford looked at when they were first developing kind of modern modal logic. So there we have a variety of different names. Now, we've been talking about logic T, and a question I often get is, where does this name come from? Now, the first person to call it T with the capital T was a person named Sobocinski, who was writing in, let me check, 1953. His logic is identical to a logic that was discussed by a logician called Fays back in the 1930s, which was lowercase t. So the only difference between Fays and Sobocinski was the uppercasing of the letter. If you go back to Fays's original paper, which is written in French, I don't read French, but you can still read quite a bit of logic without knowing any French. He discusses three systems, all relatively weak systems of modal logic. He calls them R, S, and T. So T gets its name from being part of a sequence of the alphabet that Fays happened to pick to name some of his systems. As far as I can tell, there's no mnemonic behind why it is called T. Now, this logic is sometimes also called M, and I will leave it as a homework assignment to anybody who can either find out the answer to or advance a plausible reason as to how this logic also came to be known as M. So there you have it. Sometimes logical systems have sensible logical names, and sometimes it's just pure accident. Until I see you next time, take care. Cheers.